Hello, and welcome to the Sugar Mama podcast, where I mother the crap out of you. In this show, I talk about all things related to blood sugar with the intent of helping you get the unwanted, extra, dangerous sugar out of your body. I'm Jennifer Hoppert, a certified holistic nutrition therapist, certified dietary supplements professional, and owner of Produce Health Nutrition Company. Produce Health Nutrition creates both individual and corporate health and wellness programs based on science-backed nutrition research. If you want to know more, please check out my website, www.phncompany.com. Hi, I'm Jennifer Hoppert, the Sugar Mama, and welcome to my podcast. Today is the 7th episode, and I want to talk about the value of a good coach. Did you have a coach growing up? Maybe, one of the listeners played sports in high school, or, you were on some kind of a team or, a club that you had a coach. I had coaches when I was younger, and, they were, like I said, I played softball, so I had a softball coach. I had academic, I wasn't so good at math, so I had a math tutor. And I also had some personal counseling coaching in school, too. And that all of those coaches really helped get me through some, they helped me with the skills that I, sought them for, better at sports and better score for my SAT and all that. But some of them helped me with some really personal issues that at this point of my life, I think that they were so critical for success back then when I was a young teenager. I just wouldn't be this person that I am without them. I don't even know if I would have made it through some of the things in my life without their coaching and what I learned from them. So I want to talk a little bit about that today, because if that sounds a little bit dramatic, just keep listening. I'm going to give you a little rundown of what my coaching experience was like. Like I said, I had these coaches when I was younger, when I was in high school. I played softball, fast-pitch softball in high school. And we had this coach, and he was quite a physically large man. And he used his voice to motivate us quite a bit. So he would yell, and when we would do something wrong, he would yell our name, and he had just this huge voice. And, he had really high expectations for us. I don't mean to make him sound like he was this terrible guy. He just was kind of an intimidating guy, and he would use his big voice to get our attention, to get us to focus at practice, etc. So we called him the Grizz, because he was like a big, formidable grizzly bear sometimes. And he expected us to show up and to pay attention and to train hard every day. He had very specific expectations for our sports performance, right? But he could be an intimidating guy, right? So like I mentioned before, my family life was a little bit rough at that time of my life. I needed a lot of extra emotional support. My parents were going through a really bad divorce, and my mother was she was diagnosed with cancer, so she was fighting that, and the home life was just not a great place for me to be. And there were moments when I was really falling apart. And I remember this one day, it was early spring, so it was pretty cold, and we had just had a huge dramatic fight at home with my parents and my poor sick mother, and I went to school to go to practice, and I just was trying to gather my thoughts, and I was very emotional. I was very upset, and I just sat out back behind the school in the bleachers and tried to pull my head together. And I remember sitting there alone, and the sun was going down, and I was overlooking the field, and I thought, my life is only going to get worse from here. I was 16. The family life was such a mess, and my mother was dying, and I had to come to terms with the fact that she was in fact not going to make it. And I just lost it. I literally lost it on those bleachers by myself, and I just fell apart. I was crying. I was having an anxiety attack. I was thinking, oh my God, this is it. I'm gonna be an orphan. And some other players, came out and they saw me crying, and they pulled me in and they pulled me into practice, and my coach stopped and he pulled me in his office. And he was probably in that moment of my life, he was probably the greatest source of support that I could have possibly gotten. He was kind and patient. He was very sensitive to my feelings of being overwhelmed. He provided me that non-judgmental sounding board that I just needed to kind of dump everything that was going on in my life without being judged or without somebody looking down on my family. It was a safe space. He provided this moment where I could be honest and be raw and get it out and talk to, somebody that I trusted about what I was going through. And it was actually like a brief refuge from all of this scary drama that was going on at home, right? And I just remember that day and all the other days where he listened to me and talked to me when I was falling apart. And I will forever be grateful because, that man got me through some of the hardest moments of my life at that time. And, I did eventually, my mother did die. I did become a teenage orphan. And I needed somebody to kind of help direct me through this until I could become of age and just deal with all that traumatic loss. So what I'm trying to tell you is a coach can be so much more than just a regular coach. So I'm going to get into a little bit. So, like I said, I've had other coaches in my life too, tutors and, SAT coaches and all of that. But the ones that I remember are not just the ones that helped me with my academic goals, but they're the ones that taught me responsibility and independence, self-reliance, right? To me, they are the most valuable coaches because they helped me navigate some very personal challenges, and they did it with kindness and patience and compassion. And that made all the difference in the world to me, especially being a young person going through such emotional drama. So I would like to say that I think a good coach is more than just a teacher or an instructor, right? They're going to offer you more than just, how to develop a good swing or, apply a math equation or even like help set up a business. A good coach is going to help you. They're going to develop a relationship with you, non-romantic, obviously, but they're going to facilitate this very important relationship with you because these relationships are important because they're going to help provide trust, patience, reliability, accountability, empathy, and then, of course, on top of all that, their expertise, obviously, in workshopping goals too. But this time that we meet with coaches, this is a little sacred space. Don't mistake it for therapy. I'm not talking about therapy, but I'm talking about, your coaching sessions are a space for you to express vulnerability or maybe fear, right? Fear of the goals that you set for yourself. Your lack of self-confidence. Like, can you really accomplish these goals? It's a place for you to share your challenges, even admit like your personal limitations in a non-judgmental, safe place. It's a place where you can ask for help or even fail, even if you're a full-grown adult, you can, a good coach is going to help you process your failure and what you learn from it and then how to move on. Take what you've learned from that failure and move on to make yourself stronger, right? This space, this time that we invest with a coach, it can help us build inspiration. It can help us revive our motivation, and it can even supply encouragement just for us to keep going, to keep trying, to keep reaching for our goals. And, coaches can do that because they can kind of help create a plan and tailor it especially for your specific needs. And then allow you a little bit of flexibility and room for growth, room for mistakes, room for learning, and then growing, right? When you're with a coach, these meetings can help you establish a routine of commitment and repetition. And have you ever heard that saying where showing up is half the battle? Well, studies actually show us that repetition is the most effective tool for reaching goals. It's not intelligence or motivation or comfort or, even affordability. Those things are important. Of course, they're important. But repetition is the absolute key. And these sessions are going to give you that reliable repetition. And our brain creates habits through repetition. We call it neuroplasticity. It's kind of like if you're walking through a field where nobody's walked before, and you're going to be walking through weeds and bushes, hopefully not bushes, but high grass and everything. And if you're that first person to make that little trail, it's not going to be much of a trail. You might have just tamped down the grass as you went. But you do that trail enough, and you're going to wear a little groove, in the field. And if you keep taking that trail over and over, it's going to become automatic. The trail's going to widen a little bit. And the more times that trail is traveled, the more reliable and automatic and the more at ease you're going to traverse that trail, right? That's kind of what happens in our brain. That's what neuroplasticity is. It's when our neurons link up in a certain trail, and the more times we repeat that trail with our it's called, I'm talking about neural pathways and I can't think of the word, action potential, when, a thought travels from neuron to neuron. So the more we reinforce that trail, the stronger that trail becomes. And that's why when you practice something, you get better at it, because it becomes automatic, because that's the trail you're building in your brain, like the one you built on the field, crossing the field. So that's my little spiel about why repetition is so important, right? Also, keeping us on track, right? Like with no coach, who's going to really check on you regularly, right? And some of these challenges that we're trying to overcome and these goals, they're really hard to do on our own. So if you hire a coach, that coach is going to keep you accountable. That coach is going to keep checking in on you. That coach is going to help facilitate you to make that transition from doubt into self-confidence so that you can accomplish that goal. And that's really important, because it's so easy to give up. It's so easy to lose focus and say, oh, this isn't working. I'm just going to let it fall by the wayside. So coaches help us out they use a couple different factors. The repetition I just talked about, right? That's obvious. I've already explained that to you. But there's two other ways that a good coach is going to become an excellent coach. And that's with motivation and accountability. So regarding motivation, an excellent coach is going to help you stay personally motivated. An excellent coach, right, is going to help you do this. There's a lot of coaches out there. Make sure you take the time to find one that provides you with everything, with all of these sort of factors, this repetition, this reliability, this accountability, this motivation. So I want to talk about motivation here. So motivation, really crucial for success, right? If a coach can help us define and access our own personal deep motivation, that is almost invaluable for strengthening our self-confidence and our self-efficacy, right? Because if we can help develop a stronger belief in ourself, that's going to help us develop self-trust, right? And then that's going to lead to resiliency. And resiliency is really important when the going gets tough, because, things almost never go our way. Sometimes everything's going great, and that's wonderful. Enjoy those days, but that doesn't happen very often. So if you can build resiliency, you can get through those harder times and you can achieve your goals. And coaches will help you build resiliency by helping you build self-efficacy and self-confidence, by helping you find your motivation. So it's kind of like, it's like a chain of events here. So when we have that self-confidence, we have a strong foundation on which our fundamental beliefs, on what we believe in, and that gives us so much more power than just trying to check off things on a box without really investing in them, right? Like to-dos, check off our to-do list. So coaches are going to help us with motivation develop a very strong foundation that's going to help build our resiliency. It can help us accomplish any challenge we're going to face. Now, regarding accountability, coaches are going to help set up a framework, a supportive framework for us to kind of follow through step by step so we can actually build how we get to our goals. And this helps us shift from like fear mentality of, can I do this? I don't know if I'm got this. I don't know if I can actually, like, how do I find my way through this? To actually like a mindset of let's facilitate it. Let's make this happen. So many things are so much easier when you kind of back up and build a step by step on how you get from point A to point B. Because if you just think about it, if you think, oh, I could never get from here to there, and you don't realize there's so many steps in between. Coaches can kind of help organize our brain so that we're like, okay, step 1, step 2, and then you progress through the steps, and pretty soon you're at your goal. Hooray. So that's hard to do on your own, and it takes a lot of time to build. Coaches usually have this already in their notes and in their practices, so they can help get us, from that step 1 to step 2. And that they do that also by creating this accountability. This accountability factor can actually help us improve the quality that we put out. In fact, it's actually a scientifically validated tool, the single most scientifically validated tool that is going to increase our positive behavior by 50% it's not willpower, it's accountability, right? And because like I said, we as humans, we are actually hardwired to produce better work when we know somebody is coming back to check on us and to check our work, right? Because, if you know somebody's going to come back in 5 minutes, you're going to try to do your best to make it look good if you care, right? If you want to. If somebody says, okay, do this, and then like throw it away afterwards, are you going to try that hard? Are you going to really do your best effort? No, right? So that accountability is hardwired into our brains. And then some people, like let's take, for example, somebody who is diagnosed with a disease, right? A health coach is a really good option to get them back on track quickly and efficiently, as quickly as possible. When it comes to our health, you don't really want to mess around. You don't have a lot of time and you don't have a lot of money to spend, maybe I'll try this. Who cares when I'll try that? This is your health you're talking about. And as you all know, without your health, you don't have much, right? So we want to get better as soon as possible, and that health coach has the tools to get you better as soon as possible. I am a health coach that helps with people with balancing their blood sugar, right? And I have seen there are a very few exceptions where people can't control their glucose levels. But generally speaking, mostly people with an imbalanced glucose or with type 2 diabetes, it's a lack of poor nutrition and poor lifestyle choices. And that's where coaching's going to come in, right? We're going to help you with those lifestyle choices and with that nutrition, because it's really easy to get your glucose levels way too high in this country. In our country, we're actually pretty poor food quality. Now, I know compared to some other countries, third world countries, this is a wonderful country. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, in general, our food isn't the best. It's not maybe as good as we think it is in this country. And then fresh food is really expensive, right? I mean, it's expensive to eat healthy. There's also a lot of time and there's a lot of effort and a hassle put into preparing meals, right? I mean, especially if you're working, you don't have a lot of time to think about and shop for and prepare this wonderful, healthy meal for yourself or your family. And then there's a lack of proper nutrition education. In school, we're not really taught actually all the things about nutrition that we really should be taught. So these are challenges, right? These are challenges that a health coach can help identify and help educate you on. And then we may not even know we've developed destructive habits over our lifetime, destructive eating habits or, food issues or, other things that we just didn't really realize we were struggling with, that we weren't overcoming, that were keeping us from reaching our goals. A health coach can help you identify those habits. They can also help you with a lot of other things like finding healthier recipes, helping with idea. They can help you identify and point out to you maybe some lifestyle changes that you might want to make. They can give you some specific customized nutrition information and maybe supplementation recommendations with whatever health situation you're dealing with. They can definitely help strengthen your motivation, right? A good coach, like I said, is going to build that relationship with you and spend the time talking to you about what makes you tick, what's important to you, what things are going to actually move your needle to get you to get closer to your goal. That's such an important point with coaching. Also, coaches, health coaches, nutritionists, they know a lot of food tricks, right? That are cost effective and time effective. So they can help teach you some of those tricks. Who has a lot, we're busy. We don't have a lot of time in our lives to, figure this out while we're continuing our life simultaneously and then trying to learn all this new stuff on our own and try to, persevere and overcome the hard times. I mean, this is asking a lot of people, right? You get a coach and that coach is going to consolidate and simplify and make more efficient your efforts at getting healthier. It's tremendous the amount of help that a health coach can give you. But not a lot of people know that. A lot of people think, oh, this is something I can do on my own, or, coaches aren't that valuable. When it comes to health, a health coach is very, very valuable. Financially, practically, with all the practical limitations of life, a health coach can just do a tremendous amount of good and show you the proper education if you get the right, obviously if you get like an educated, certified, and, a coach with true morals. I mean, there's a lot of coaches out there. I'm not going to speak for every coach in the world if that they're good, but if you do your homework and you look into coach, you meet with these coaches, you have these discovery calls, you talk to them, you get to know them, you check their credentials and their background. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Find a good coach so that you can enjoy all the benefits of this coach. But what I wanted to say also is I wanted to talk about, a lot of people say to me, well, when it comes to high blood sugar, I can just take a pill. And that's so much easier than making all these changes in life. And I'm like, okay, let's just break that down for a moment, right? Because my big deal is I'd like to help you get your blood sugar into a safe zone without the use of a pill. And the reasons I believe this is important are because there's a ton of issues that a lot of people don't even know about, or they've kind of conveniently forgotten about when it comes to taking a prescription drug. There can be side effects or adverse reactions. In fact, I have coached people who've come to me to help them with this weird symptom they're having. And after our coaching session, I ask them about the medications, and I say to them, did you look at any of the warning signs for the medications, the side effects? And they say no. And then we go through them, and the side effects are exactly the symptoms that someone's experiencing. In fact, I had one situation where the client then went to the doctor and said, my nutritionist says this is a symptom. And the doctor said, that's right. Let's get you on a different medication. Made a world of difference to that particular client. So yeah, a lot of people think I'm not going to have an adverse reaction. It happens a lot more than you think. And then there's drug interactions. If you're taking one drug and it's interacted with another drug, what are the dangers there? And then there's dependency and addiction risks. I mean, that's usually, well, I'm just going to leave it there because I was going to say it's not a big deal with blood sugar, but it kind of is, right? Especially with some medications that are on the market today that I'm not going to implicate myself and get in trouble by saying their names. But yeah, that's a big issue. When you go off some of these medications, everything falls apart. Okay, and then some drugs they will actually deplete you of nutrients, and you're trying to stay healthy and get healthier, and then you're being depleted of nutrients because the drug that's trying to make you healthy is actually making you sicker, but is masking it. That's another thing, masking symptoms, rather than addressing root causes. And then I'm sure you probably heard of it, antibiotic resistance, right? That's actually making the bugs, the pathogens stronger, and the bad bacteria stronger and stronger, so that the medication that we give ourselves to overcome them doesn't work anymore. They've become almost immune to it. That's a huge problem nowadays. That's also one of the risks. And then there's a couple of financial risks too, right? I mean, high out-of-pocket costs. You got to have insurance for some of these prescriptions. And every year they're getting a little more expensive than the potential chronic dependence that I talked about. But also there's unnecessary prescriptions or sometimes over medication. Sometimes I've coached people who come to me with, I'm not exaggerating, like 15 different drugs are on. And I'm like, oh my God, where do we get started? So many of them, I've instructed they go back to their doctor and talk about the medications. And the doctor's like, oh yeah, you don't need this one. You probably don't need that one. And that might not have happened had they not actually looked at how many medications they're being prescribed. And then there's a lot of hidden costs. There's a lot of hidden costs that we don't think of. So okay. So I'm going to wrap this all up. Let's avoid all these issues. Avoid all these issues with prescription medications. Work with a health coach, right? Because a health coach is going to help you make safe and permanent changes in your life that are going to actually improve your health naturally, and it's going to develop good habits so that you don't have to maybe use those drugs to overcome your problem and then go off the drugs and then have the problem come back because you haven't learned how to manage your life without that drug, right? So a health coach is going to help you make these changes in a healthy way. These are going to be safe and permanent health changes. It's going to help. It's going to help you develop your, Okay, let me back up. Years ago, I went on a diet that was really restrictive. And when I was on this diet, I did lose a lot of weight. But after I went off the diet, I needed another 3 months of learning how to live my life now as a normal person, not on a diet. And that was really hard. They called it, can't think of the word. When you are off it and now you have to, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, you have to learn how to live your life in a regular, now getting back to normal without this extreme caloric deprivation, right? And so that was really tricky. It was almost like, gosh, I wish I would have learned that while I was doing it instead of now having maintenance. That's the word, maintenance. Now that I'm in maintenance, I have to spend another couple of months learning how to do this maintenance. It's not going to be like that with health coaching. From day one, they're going to say, okay, we're going to take a broad spectrum look at your health history, at your lifestyle choices, at your family's health history. And we're going to start making these changes now, gently, slowly, with a lot of support and guidance. And this is going to give you the greatest chance at recovering your natural health, right? A coach can be like an effective and supportive guide to navigate all of these confusing, frustrating challenges that you're trying to do in real time, while you're living your life simultaneously. That is a very hard thing to do, right? I don't know the actual statistics on the amount of failure if you don't go with a coach and you try to live your life and make these changes. Really hard to do. Also, it's going to help you reorientate. Working with a coach is going to help you reorientate your priorities. It's going to help you keep you accountable, helps you organize a plan. A coach can give you a wider perspective of your life. You may not even realize some of the things that you need help with, right? Because you're in the woods, or you don't see the trees, and you're in the middle of the woods. And when they're that non-judgmental sounding board, they really give you a chance to kind of reflect on yourself and your choices. They give you that sacred time and space for you to invest in taking moments to reflect on your choices and what you're doing, and maybe help redirect you. Not maybe, but definitely redirect you. And that, of course, is going to help you reclaim your self-confidence. It's going to help you build that resiliency that we all need in life these days. So one other thing that I think is really underrated with hiring a health coach is that they give you a lifelong education that can never be revoked, that you can share with your loved ones, with your family, you can pass down to your children. The whole family gets to benefit from this life-changing learning because, there's a lot of things that have happened in the past century in our country that have misled us as far as health goes. It's misleading information. like the lipid hypothesis, right? That, we all thought for so long that cholesterol foods are going to cause heart disease. That's been proven false. But this programming gets handed down from generation to generation, and when that research report first came out, like way back in, I think it was the 30s, the health of Americans got worse. When we made these changes based on that research, our health got worse. Diabetes went up, heart disease went up, cancer went up, and health and heart disease, it didn't go down. I shouldn't say it went up. It didn't go down. It didn't change. So we made all these changes based on this lipid hypothesis research saying that cholesterol is bad for us, and really everybody just got sicker, right? And that idea, that false information, proven false, scientifically proven false, has been repeated lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, right? And so when you work with a nutritional health coach, they're going to bring you science-based research showing you why your particular body needs this particular way of eating or these, nutrients. It's not the same for everybody in the whole world, right? So you get this personalized nutrition. You get to learn with them in real time why nutrients are working with your body, what kind of lifestyle choices you need to make, and how, and you get to incorporate this in every day so that this becomes just automatic for you, and there is no, maintenance phase afterwards. And this is information you share with your family or your friends or people you care about forever. It can never be taken away, right? This is really important. These are significant life-changing benefits from having a nutritional health coach. And so I, obviously, am a nutritional health coach. This is why I'm telling you all this. You don't have to hire me, but I really want you to know the benefits of hiring a health coach, life-changing. And I strongly encourage you to give it a try if you have some health situations that you want to change or improve. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for listening. I hope you stay happy, healthy, and wise, and I'll see you next time. Take care. So if you want more personalized support, you should head over to my website. It's www.phncompany.com. And of course, you can also follow me for tips and information on social media like Instagram, LinkedIn, and I am on Alignable as well.
Jennifer Hoppert is a holistic nutrition therapist, master certified in the state of Colorado. Holistic nutritional therapists are not medical doctors and legally are prohibited from diagnosing, prescribing, or treating disease. Any information you receive from this podcast show should not be assumed as medical treatment and should not replace any medical diagnosis, prescriptions, or treatments from your doctor. Consult with your physician before trying any new supplements or exercise routines.